women are great organizers. They should be amazing in organizing a big company.
You're actually the CEO and owner of Maxweb.
And a woman. I wanted a place where affiliates are like the superstar, the rock star of the show. I figured to be able to do that and to be able to provide that level of care, we have to understand the traffic.
You were talking about your mindset, your drive, also your work ethic. What makes you different from other people?
Consistency, determination. I don't believe in luck. I don't believe in good ideas. I'm a true believer in hard work. I know the new generation is going to tell us it's better to work smart than hard. I don't think one implicitly eliminates the other.
So today we're talking to Anna Gita from Maxweb. Welcome, Anna.
Welcome. I am so honored to be here.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. You're actually the CEO and owner of Maxweb.
Absolutely. And a woman. So if you're not watching this on video, that's pretty proud.
Yeah, I think people can tell by your voice as well. So what does Maxweb actually do?
That's a wonderful question. Many times we're confused with regular affiliate networks. So yes, we are an affiliate network, but we're also an agency. So that is simple. We have lots of affiliates. We have over 20,000 affiliates, but then we also have a lot of media buyers that work for us. Mm-hmm. So if we have a product owner that wants traffic, everyone wants traffic nowadays, is the best commodity. We test everything internally. We do Outbrain, we do YouTube, we do Facebook. And if the offer is great, then we let the affiliates run too. Because our affiliates spend a lot of money and we don't want to bring something to them if it's not good. So that's what we do. We give traffic. So everyone wants to work with us because traffic is such a commodity. And we do a bit of everything from Facebook, YouTube, native, all the good sources.
Do you also do copywriting and these conversion related things?
We don't. And we're not going to get into copywriting or the processing side of the offers. We really just love the traffic side. So we have a wonderful relationship with all the traffic sources like Outbrain, Taboola, Ref Content, MGAD. That's what we do. That's what we love. The copywriting, we usually let, the product owner partners that we work with, we let them do that, or we hire really good copywriters in the industry, but we just focus on the traffic side.
That's very interesting. How did you discover this particular business model? Because our business model at Digistore24 is a little bit different. Mm-hmm. We also do the payments and the payouts of everything. So we do a lot of the back end stuff. How did you come up with this particular business model?
I love that question because when I decided on the model, I actually saw a gap in the market. You guys do a wonderful job for vendors. I mean, if you're a vendor and you're watching this, you definitely want to work with Digistore because you're going to need payment processing for your offer. Maxweb is just a really big affiliate. So I realized affiliates are kind of like tier 2 when it comes to needs. So a lot of the companies like Digistore, you guys need to have a wonderful relationship with the vendors, and affiliates sometimes are not as important per se as the vendor because the vendors are the one paying the bills. They're the one creating the offers. Well, I wanted a place where affiliates are like the superstar, the rock star of the show, right? And I figured to be able to do that and to be able to provide that level of care, we have to understand the traffic. So I went into the world and found the best media buyers. I paid them a lot of money to test the offers and then to stay with us. And after that, affiliates started realizing that, okay, we know what. So we know how traffic works. So they started migrating to us. So that was the idea. The idea was to have a place where affiliates are the star of the show, not the vendors. And we don't offer payment processing. We don't want to get into the payment processing business. We're not good at it. We're good at the traffic side. That's why we love having partners like you guys, because you have wonderful relationship that help with payment processing. And we still need that when we have an offer. We just stick to the traffic because that's what we like.
That's interesting. I like your creativity, being like a big affiliate in and of itself, but you're really a swarm of affiliates.
Exactly.
And affiliates are usually also people who bring traffic, and which you also test out with your own media buyers. So
Exactly.
So like before you hand out something to the affiliate, it's already a bit tested, and if an offer would totally suck, you would not give it to the affiliate
100%.
because you want to have them get a good experience. That's very cool. So this is where you are now, being the owner and the CEO. How did it start? Like, how did you become an owner and a CEO?
Well, it was, I started with someone else, a mentor, someone that I really liked. And I realized that for me and my personality and the vision I had, it would be easier for me to be the star of the show, per se. So it wasn't really complicated, but it's for me and how I am. I wanted to run the show, be able to hire the right people for the right spots. And, as we were discussing before we went live, it's people are everything, and having the right people on the team. I love that I have the freedom to look globally, to be able to look and, hire the best for Maxweb. And there are many wonderful companies in the space, but we are different, and we don't just say we are. I mean,
I see. And I would like to talk a little bit more about your personal career.
Absolutely.
What have you done before you were a CEO? What kind of profession or business have you been in? For example, before I was in this industry, I used to be a dentist. So what's your story?
That's so cool. I didn't know that. Well, I used to work for a hospital in Pennsylvania. So I moved to Pennsylvania at 19, and it was a behavioral health hospital. I did management work, like I was the administrative assistant, and then I was promoted to run as a director, the triage department for the behavioral health clinic. And I did that for 6 years. And we started with 2 doctors in the triage department, and I grew it to 27. So, and I was 19 when I did that. So I had entrepreneurship and leadership in my blood. And then I moved to Los Angeles, where I work for Kids Line, which is a company that sells baby bedding for all the big brands in the US, like Target and Walmart and all the big companies. So, but I was doing management, and I went to UCLA for my MBA, and everything was related to business, but what I was doing was very different. Working for a hospital, then for a retailer, and then finding the tech world, which this is the most challenging because everything changes all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. That's why it's so important for me to have the freedom to hire whoever we need to do whatever we want, because if you're not changing every month, you're going to fall behind.
Okay, so you grew these types of businesses, and how did you particular get into the tech / affiliate marketing space?
I met someone. It was this boy who was friends with my husband, and he was working for a digital company online. And he was like, well, you have your MBA, right? Well, I know someone that needs a CEO for a company. Can you talk to him? And I talked to this person, and we hit it off, and I started helping him with his company and growing it. And I was like, whoa, I really like this. And I was thinking, I see a lot of people that are not very driven, that make a lot of money in the tech world. If I can apply my business sense to it, I can probably grow my company. Maxweb is my second baby. Everyone knows that, to be a small empire. So
interesting. So you almost directly became the CEO of that company.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
And you were talking about your mindset, your drive, also your work ethic. Can you describe that? What makes you different from other people?
Consistency, determination. You probably heard that a lot if you read any good business book on mindset, from John Maxwell to Gladwell to, all the good ones. I don't believe in luck. I don't believe in good ideas. Good ideas are very easy to find, very hard to implement. I'm a true believer in hard work. I know the new generation is going to tell us, well, it's better to work smart than hard. I don't think one implicitly eliminates the other. I still work 18-hour days. Probably I don't have to because the company is successful, but I guess I'm different because I work really hard. I know how to do every single task in the company, from what an affiliate manager does to what the tech person does to probably not the accountants or the legal team, because that's obviously a different set of skills. But I try to know what's going on. I know people think it's very hard to do that when you have a huge company, but it's not. I mean, I don't necessarily have to do it. I just need to know how it's done. So I'm really involved. Like, even if the company grew 10x, I'm still very involved, and I know what's going on in every small department.
You seem to have that drive, like from like naturally. How did you get that drive, or what's the cause of that drive in your personality?
It's such a wonderful question, and I think about that a lot because I have a brother, and he's not like me. He's a professor. He was given the opportunity to teach at Sorbonne in Spain, in France. It was a huge deal, and he wanted to stay home. And I was different. I was like, as soon as I hit 18, I wanted to move. I wanted to go to the university somewhere else. I moved to the US by myself. My family was not with me. It's just something you're born with. I want to say is the people you meet, the things that happen to you in life, but a huge part of our drive and how we are, we're just born with it. That's why it's so darn hard to find wonderful, good employees, because they can have the desire, but if they're not born with that hustle, that desire to excel, it's really hard to teach.
Okay. And like, have there been some events in your youth or your childhood that gave you that drive? Because I've heard that a lot with some people.
Well, my parents grew up in communism. I was 4 when the communist regime ended in Romania. So growing up, it was a big deal to have financial stability. Like, when my dad got us internet when I was in 5th grade, it was a huge celebration. Or when my dad got us the first TV for my brother and I in our room, that was a huge deal. And I think the drive was having the means to be able to buy anything that I want, to afford things, to have the financial stability for my parents, for myself. So that's a big reason. I mean, people probably don't often admit to it, but when you grow up not having a lot, it's a huge driver, being able to afford more and more, and especially being able to offer that to the people you love.
I come from a very humble background. My mother is a nurse, and my father used to sell washing machines and stuff like that. So very, very simple. And compared to my other friends, I had the least amount of, let's say, toys and wealth, so to speak. And the cars of my parents were a lot different compared to the cars of my friends. And that bugged me so much. And it went for years and years that, like, as an adult, I just keep, like, I don't even feel comfortable taking a rest. I just always need to do something because it feels like it's never enough already. Like, even if I do something, then then A, it's not good enough, and B, I have to do the next thing, and it has to be more, and I have to be better. And then there's still like 100%. these super successful entrepreneurs that, and I can't help it, but sometimes, of course, you compare yourself with them. You say, hey, but Elon Musk did a lot more. He wants to go to Mars.
Why I'm not on Mars yet?
Yeah.
I get it, 100%.
And but there's like, but it's kind of hard because then we can get easily, like, especially as entrepreneurs, we can easily lose the balance, and then we can like lack a social life. And we might even neglect our family and our loved ones, because it's not very often that I really, for example, talk to my mother. I don't talk to her too much. I mean, I love her, but it's quite hard. And so how do you find that balance, being so driven?
Well, first, thank you so much for sharing about your background, because not enough people admit it. Almost, I don't know, some entrepreneurs see it as like a bad thing that we didn't grow up having a lot of fancy things somehow that makes us less, but on the contrary, I think that's fantastic, and it's probably part of our drive and why we work so hard, because I always try to remember, I never try to get used to the awesome things that we can afford. I always try to remember the times when it was a celebration to have a TV with a remote, or a new outfit for school that for other kids probably was super easy to purchase. So thank you for sharing that. I think more people should admit to it, because it's a big driver. And on the other side, I was nodding because I relate. I cannot relax at all. Even the things that I do to relax, I have an app on my phone that summarizes a book for you in 12 minutes. So that's what I do to relax. Because if I don't, I feel guilty. I feel like, oh my gosh, there are so many people doing amazing things. I know I have the cognitive capability to do it. So I just have to work really hard to get there. So just like you, I can never relax, but I learned to just be okay with that. That's how I am. That's, that's how I downloaded the app that summarizes the books for me, because if that helps me relax, that's what I'll do. The work-life balance doesn't really exist when you run a big business. People lie and tell you all is possible. It's not. It's possible if you have a really understanding partner. My husband is a stay-at-home dad. If he wasn't a stay-at-home dad, it wouldn't be ideal or happy or all rainbows and sunshine. So I don't spend enough time with my son. I have a 5-year-old son, but we make it work. Like on Sunday, we have our one-on-one time, but basically I'm trying to say there's no real balance. If you want to succeed and run a really successful company, the personal life usually suffers from it.
Yeah, that's kind of normal. You talked about like special business instincts, and somehow you naturally knew how to grow and manage everything in a company. Like, can you name some of like basic principles that you apply, maybe consciously or subconsciously, to make a business successful?
Absolutely. So I know this is very cheesy, but it works wonders. So I always think of this. I got to the point where I can be anything, right? In a world where you can be anything, especially when you have financial stability, I always try to start everything with kindness. Even in a business relationship, I'm Eastern European more than American, so I tend to be assertive or maybe pragmatic and strong at times, but you can still do that with kindness. And people feel that, like the type of relationships we have with the product owners, with the affiliates, with other businesses like Digistore, we try to be kind. And what I mean by that, you don't have to be a pushover, but you have to apply common sense. You have to apply courtesy to the people you work with. Respect them. When you look in their eye, they should see that you like them, that you care about them, that you're the type of person that's going to ask them if they want to make any type of move that would be against your business or your principles. So leading with kindness is very important to me. Same with the team. We have a policy for zero drama. And I know that sounds silly, but it works wonders. If there's a person that's very dramatic, we'll write up a severance package. There are many other awesome jobs, but we don't like people fighting or having an attitude at work. Some people are like that instinctively. So leading with kindness, zero drama policy, and productivity first. I know it doesn't sound sexy, but having a team that's productive and puts work first, it's very important. So usually high IQ individuals are not going to be the best when you take them to conferences, but it works wonders. So what I'm trying to say, don't hire the people that are going to be amazing in a crowd, because that's only like 5% of the job. Hire the smart IQ geeks and the ones that are actually going to stay behind the computer for 10 days and do the work, because that's how you're going to scale.
Yeah, one very important part in making a company successful is saying no and prioritizing. How you approach that?
I am very good at saying no. I'm very comfortable at saying no. We say no all the time. Imagine in our line of business, all the product owners wants to work with us, but it's not always a good fit. So we learn we're going to lose money if we work with a product owner that doesn't know how to optimize their offers. We'll spend $10,000 in testing easily on a traffic source. And if they don't know how to optimize their offer, we're going to lose. So we learn to say no. You can do it in a kind way, but It's easy for me to say no. You have to run a successful business. You have to say no. For employees too. I mean, again, you can have a wonderful severance package. You can part way as friends. It doesn't have to be a tragedy to change your employee pool. Like, it doesn't make you a bad person that 2 out of 10 employees are not going to be a good fit. Like, sometimes we think like it's a bad stigma when you have to fire people, but they're going to find something that's going to make them happier, not just you.
I see. Yes, you're currently in Romania again, right? So what made you move away from the US to Romania again?
It was something organic. So I wasn't planning to stay as much as I did. Initially, I was pregnant, so I figured, well, I should stay home longer because my parents are here, and it was just one of those emotional things where I wanted to be close to family. And then the business started being successful. The US had a new president, which was I think, the best choice without getting into politics. So I felt like it wasn't the time to go back with everything that you were hearing on the news. It just felt nice to be away from the US with all that going on. And then COVID happened. And again, it was easier to be closer to family. So we decided to build a house a few years ago when,
In Romania.
In Romania. So we have a house there now. My son goes to kindergarten, to school. So it's kind of organic. Probably at one point we'll go back to the US. But for now, it's just easy and nice. And because as long as I have good internet connection, I can connect with my team everywhere. I have to travel a lot. That's the downside, to go to the bank, you have to go in person. When you go to New York Chase, you have to go in person. But it's okay. Now we have planes. You can be anywhere in 24 hours.
Do you feel like I saw that a lot of people would move out from places like the US? They would move to Dubai. A lot of them would move to Eastern Europe. How do you see it in terms of productivity as an entrepreneur? Do you feel like you're more productive in Romania in that case, or do you feel like you were more productive in the US personally?
That's such a good question. And honestly, I think I'm more productive, but I think this has more to do with the personality of the entrepreneur. If you're the type of person that likes to be in a busy place, it's probably going to be hard for you to be productive no matter where you are. But overall, if we have to think about it pragmatically, Romania doesn't have the same opportunities to go out and have fun as the US. If you're in Vegas or New York, you see an awesome show, you're like, I have to go see the new opera show or music or whatever you're into. In Romania, because it's a laid back life, you're stuck at home for long periods of time. And personally, I love that because then it forces you to be proactive. Think about COVID, how productive everyone was. I'm not saying it's nothing positive about a pandemic, but a lot of the people were stuck at home and they were more productive because they didn't have anything else to do but work.
Yeah, like especially with that COVID period, it's kind of crazy because it's extremely divided. Some people were just miserable and they got fat and depressed, and suicide rates even went up. But I have a friend. He has a great mindset, and his name is Mike Hager, and he's a German guy. During COVID, he made a point to lose weight. It's like he was a little bit overweight, and he was like, oh, because of COVID, I'm going to lose weight. And another thing he did, he learned everything about NFTs, like everything. And now he's like an NFT expert, and he made millions and millions with it. And he has like NFT, he gives NFT mentorings, and he's connected to all the bright NFT minds in the world. For example, when the Bored Apes came out, that you might know, he minted 10, like he got 10. Like when they came out, he was like, I'm going to take my money. Brilliant. He got 10 and he still has them, and it's worth millions and millions. That's really...
see, mindset. That was the keyword there. That was the keyword. And if you guys ever heard any of my speeches, I spend at least 10 minutes on mindset, because it's not just something that sounds nice. It's actually something that works. When you visualize success, it's not something that rich people tell you to sound cool. It really works. Like having the right mindset and being positive about your surroundings, it's going to lead to results. And this comes from someone that's very pragmatic. I'm very pragmatic, but having a positive mindset and visualizing the good things that you want to do for yourself, it works every time. And, it was a pandemic. I mean, it was the perfect opportunity. If you're in tech and performance marketing, it was the perfect opportunity to get your teams to work really hard, incentivize them with, a profit share of any sort. It was such a great opportunity for us. And that's how I saw it. I think it was for us a really positive time because we chose to be positive about it, spent a lot of time getting the right traffic sources in place. So it ended up being a positive couple of years for us.
Yeah. A lot of people think that you should be like constantly surrounded, like you're the average of your 5 best friends, and also like success wise, net worth wise. But to me that contradicts a little bit to like living very for yourself and just working. How do you see that? Is it important to be constantly surrounded by other successful people and spending time with them? Or is there like a healthy ratio for that? How do you see that? Because when you're like,
I love that so much. I'm gonna steal that from you for my.
okay,
I think is very important to definitely have people that are successful because they're going to help you think outside of the box. However, I'm a strong believer that you can grasp more positivity from your family, from your close friends. I don't feel the need to spend my time with a lot of other successful people. I think if you're not a strong person and you don't, I don't want to upset anyone by saying this, but if you're not a very strong person, you feel the need to be around other successful people because you feel the need, like maybe you're not comfortable with yourself. Maybe you have the imposter syndrome and you feel like you need to be around other successful people to steal a bit of this and that. I think people that are very comfortable with themselves, they don't really feel the need to be around other successful people. It's a wonderful plus. I do it. If I can convince you to come have dinner with me, I would love it because we can sit down or have a coffee and I can pick your brain because I'm sure I can learn so much from you. So I would say the ratio is like 20%. I'll take 20% of my time and make it a habit to talk to other successful people because I'm sure I'm going to learn brilliant things that I haven't thought about. But the rest of the time, I think if you want to focus on yourself and your family, you don't have to feel that need to just be surrounded by brilliant people. My best friend is a high school teacher and she's amazing and I learned so much from her. She's not a business person. She's, her income is not like ours, but I love spending my time with her because she's kind and sweet and it's the type, that positive energy that we need,
Yes.
So you don't have to go to masterminds every single month and only be surrounded by, the 10X club. Don't get me wrong. I love people like that because, we found ourselves in people that are like us. Like as you were speaking, I realized that I'm admiring you more and more because
Thank you.
I'm the same with so many things. The way you were telling me it's hard for you to relax. That's how we are. And I love to spend time with people like you because it helps me see my life better, but it doesn't have to be all your time. How I said, I think 80% time for yourself and your family and 20% time to spend with brilliant individuals that can teach you a bit more about life and business.
Yeah, thank you. It's actually I'm asking this because I quite often, okay, let's put it that way. I'm an introvert, so naturally I'm not spending too much time. I don't have the inclination to do that a lot. But it's always nice if I do. I'm like 50%. I feel like I'm 50% introvert and extrovert. But if I go, for example, to a trip with friends, at least 50% of the time I want to be on my own. Mm-hmm. Like every second day, I'm like, okay, this is my day off. You go have fun and do your party and whatnot. And I just need to read and reflect and think and meditate and whatever,
That's
exercise
wonderful.
something alone. And sometimes I would feel guilty about it because, there's a lot of people saying, oh, your network is your net worth, which is kind of true. And of course, and it's also like, like great other entrepreneurs inspire me to do new things, and like maybe breathing techniques or new interesting sports that give you a lot of energy. So there is this inspiration, yes, but at the same time I don't need too much of that and too many ideas of that, because I just have limited time to implement them, and I still have the business. So that's why I wanted to like hear your opinion about how
100%.
you approach this, especially because I can relate to that, because now I live in Switzerland, kind of in the mountains, and I'm like, and quite often I'm traveling, yes, but I'm also like not too much mingling with people.
That sounds
And
nice.
so I feel like, so my thing was, okay, I'm gonna pick like very, very important events like the Affiliate World, for example. I'm gonna travel there, and then I'll talk to as many people as I can, but then I go back and sit in my small box and just think and work.
I love it. I'm the same. But think about it like this. All the other people are going to gravitate to you. If you are the type of person, I'm the same. I don't feel the need to be looking for a lot of connections all the time. But if you're a strong person, the way you are, people are going to gravitate to you. So that's what I'm betting on. And that's what it usually happens. If I don't I don't go to all the conferences. I go to a few that I like. I don't make time every day to meet with another entrepreneur. But people tend to gravitate towards us. So if you are successful at what you do and you spend that time on yourself, I think it's more valuable. Because if you spend 90% of your time connecting with other entrepreneurs, when are you going to have the time to implement what you're learning? And when are you going to have time to focus on yourself? Entrepreneurs usually focus on their business, on what other people are doing, but they rarely take time to reflect, to meditate, think about their own feelings, about their own emotions. And that's why a lot of businesses crash after a few years, because the leader, the entrepreneur, is not taking care of herself or himself. So I think it's honestly the right way to go, to spend a lot of time with yourself. Don't feel guilty about it, because that's how I do it. And I think, in just a few years, Maxweb has grew to be a beautiful empire, and we're just getting started. And again, you'll find time with the right people, but it doesn't have to be all the time. And people are going to want to work with you if you're a good human. And it's easier to be a good person if you spend time on yourself than on trying to impress others.
Absolutely. In the beginning, you mentioned that like one thing that's special about you as a CEO is that you are a woman. In what way is it special to you, or let's say different from a woman's perspective than being a man in business, especially in our technology industry?
Well, it's a great perspective, because I have a good friend in the industry. She's a woman, and she doesn't ever like to mention that, because she feels like we should be treated the same, right? It doesn't matter if I'm a CEO, I'm a CEO. However, the history has been very different. The history is still very different. There's a lot of misogyny in this world, and I think it's brilliant that I can sit with open-minded people that treat me the same, but it's still something special that we should celebrate, because just 200 years ago, women did not have the same rights that we have today, right? And the fact that my husband is a stay-at-home dad, and that's cool, as a dynamic, I think that's something we should be celebrating. And the fact that out of, 20 speakers at a big conference, I am a woman and I'm there, it's something we should be celebrating. A lot of you guys watching, listening probably have daughters, and it brings you joy to see that women can make it just the same. We are finally there. We're finally in a century where 100% women can do the same things. And in business too. I mean, if you think about it pragmatically, women are great organizers.
Yeah.
They should be amazing in organizing a big company. The ego is not there. Not all men, obviously, but some guys tend to have that power play, which for women is not that important. So if you think about leadership roles, they're kind of perfect for women.
Yeah, women are great organizers. I think men can be sometimes a bit chaotic, but it depends on what type they are. Like there can be like these blue types that are very,
100%.
very organized, and there's these crazy red types and whatnot. Then that's very interesting. But did you feel like you were treated differently being a woman? Because a lot of women are like, oh yeah, I have like twice as hard in the business world. But your story is contradictory to that. Like you became a CEO like very fast. So no one discriminated you or anything, right?
They didn't.
So women should not be victims, but you can just do it. And sometimes it can be an excuse, like, you know, if they're like not driven enough or too lazy or whatnot, to say, because I'm a woman, because I'm discriminated a lot. Right.
Well, that applies to everything, you know, gender, age, all the different topics. I think you need to grab what you can, and this is the time where you can do it. So if you're a woman, you can do it. I wasn't. I feel like I met so many brilliant guys in the industry that treated me with respect. And I think it's about capabilities, not the gender.
Yeah.
It's your capability. If someone sees you're capable, you work hard, cognitively you're there, you can do it. I also met many people that are misogynist, but I think that happens to everyone. The idea is to not let that define you. It's not the 10 misogynistic guys that felt like, oh, I'm not going to do business with a woman. It's the other 20 that were like, oh, cool, awesome. You have a great idea. Let me support you on that. So focus on the good people because they're out there. Don't focus on the 10 that are going to, there are a lot of guys that are going to treat women differently. But that's a small percentage. Let's not focus on them. Let's focus on the brilliant guys that are not going to care and they're going to give you opportunities as a woman.
Yes, I think so too. You shouldn't have a story or an excuse that holds you back from success, because like everyone's situation is differently. Like we're not equal. Like everyone is a bit different in terms of background, in terms of education, in terms of IQ, it's EQ, etc., etc. Like everyone is different. I think whatever background you have, whatever gender or sexual orientation you have or race, it should not hold you back. Even if you had made, let's say, bad experiences in the past, it should not hold you back, and it should not be your excuse or your story, because then you will not be able to overcome it, and then it will be your story forever, and you will regret it at the end of the day, being angry at other people that might just like be people from the past that you even don't respect or like, something like that, right?
And that's my message. If we are to take something from what we're trying to share here, don't let specific experiences define your story. You really can choose your path. I know for some people we have it easier or harder. I 100% agree with that. But focus and think about the many awesome, brilliant people that are just going to focus on you. It doesn't matter, your gender, your skin color, your sexual orientation. They're just going to want to make sure you work really hard. And believe me, from personal experience, I can tell you there are so many people out there. They only care about how brilliant you are. When I hire, that's all I care about. I'm pretty strict as a boss. I'll admit it. I'm not embarrassed by it. I love my team to death, but productivity comes first. And again, I don't care when I hire. It doesn't matter. Nothing matters except your cognitive capabilities, being productive, and working hard. And if you do that, you grow with the company, you grow with the empire, you're going to have financial stability for your family. So, of course, don't let specific events define who you are. There are so many amazing people out there, especially in our industry, who, believe me, are not going to care. All they care is you working hard, and many doors will open.
Yeah, I'm the same. When I recruit people, I don't see like their background, or I don't even look at their
resume.
At the resume. I don't even
I
care.
want to see if are they smart? Are they brilliant? Can I have an awesome conversation? Are they cognitively okay? The IQ and EQ usually come out after one conversation. Yeah. That's what we care about, right? We want them to work hard once they start.
I don't care if they gone to university or not, if they just dropped out of school or not. I really don't care. All I want to do is like I want to see some passion and some drive. I want to see some intelligence, and I want to see common sense. That's also very important, because there's some people who tend to not live in the same reality.
Yeah.
They have stories about things and they interpret it only from their...
They write a different narrative. I think that's the epitome of this, the last few years. People rewrite the narrative of things that happen, and they get stuck into ideas that they created. When, again, going back to the mindset, you can rewrite how you want to see yourself and the world. And I know if you're going through a really hard time that's really hard to see or understand, and you can say, well, Anna, it's very easy for you to talk. You have a successful business. Well, I didn't always have a successful business.
Yeah.
I was a kid just like you, eating cup noodles, going to university in a Chevy that had no heat or no AC. That was just, 18 years ago. My car didn't have any of the cool features that my car has now, but you can do it. And don't let the past define you, but also, and I want to say this in a very kind way, no one owes us anything.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say. No one owes us anything. We shouldn't take anything for granted. We shouldn't expect from our employer or anyone that we encounter to give us anything. You have to work for it.
Yes.
And I'm trying to say it in a kind way, because I know it's not politically correct nowadays to say everything we believe, but I really think we need to work really hard, and no one owes us anything at all.
Yes.
No one owes us anything. I think that's the epitome that we should really focus on.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. How do you actually manage people? Like, if you lead a group, how do you get them to reach the common goal?
Well, we also start with good communication. I prefer most of the communication to be in writing, not calls. One of the things that I preach as much as I get a chance to, calls are very unproductive. You'll have a Zoom call about everything. 5 calls later, almost nothing is done. So we have email chains, and we have Slack, Monday.com, many great apps that you can use to talk to your team. We have everything in writing, very clear definition of the goal, very clear definition of the expectation, and a very clear in bold to have them ask questions. So A, B, and C, this is what you need to do. This is what we expect from you. Please ask questions if you don't understand. So if you start with that, with a good communication, everyone needs to know what they do. When the timeline is ready, like let's say by Friday, we know that team A needs to finish a new traffic source campaign. If it's not done, we're only going to let that happen twice. But if they don't ask question, and then on Friday they tell you, oh, sorry, I didn't know that. Again, red flag. So in the first year, you're going to have a lot of red flags for your team, and that it's okay. That's how you eliminate the people that are not a good fit. And then you remain with the superstars. I'm very proud to say my team is here. The whole team is here at the event. You don't even have to babysit the right people anymore.
Yeah.
If you work really hard in the beginning, the first few years, to really set the right expectation, communicate very well, hold them accountable when they do stuff that is not okay, it's going to be so much easier down the road. So I set a lot of expectation. A lot of the communication is in writing, and we hold people accountable. We don't just say that, we hold them accountable.
Okay. And but how do you actually manage them in terms of let's say someone is not reaching their goal and you're responsible for that? What do you do? Do you put pressure on them? Do you try to coach them?
I always try to coach them. So that's the first thing. Let's see what happened. How can we change this and be better at it? So we always start with a communication. And the idea is, we're not trying to figure out who did something wrong. Let's figure out together how can we avoid this from happening again, right? And usually when you do that, you notice that some people are really bad at that job, but you can find something else in the company that they're going to be great at. So definitely start with that conversation to see why they did something that, to us is unacceptable. Can we do anything about it to not happen again? Change them to a different role if they don't succeed. If if it's really not a good fit, I know, again, it's not something politically correct to say, but there are so many other jobs where they would be happier, right?
Yes.
So it's always have the communication to see what happened. Many times it's a really easy explanation to the chain of communication being broken as to why one of the employees did something that he shouldn't have. Many times the chain of communication is broken. We have brilliant managers that maybe forgot to communicate things in a clear manner. So try to figure out what happened first, trying to help them, move them to a different role, and if not, part ways as friends.
That's cool. I like that very much. How do you actually motivate a team and inspire them? Because you can, there's this side where you put pressure on your team, but there's also the need that you give them a vision. Like when I hire, for example, a manager or a leader of a department, the first thing I want them to do is create a vision, a clear vision, and how this department should look like and how it should be run. So do you see it the same? And what do you think of that?
I do. And the vision is the most important thing. Again, if you ask my team, they're not going to tell you I'm a strict, annoying boss. I don't even, they joke, they call me boss because I hate the word boss, because God knows if you're a real leader, you work more than anyone. You have to do all the boring stuff that no one else likes.
Yeah.
But long story short, you as the leader get to choose your team, but they also need to choose you back. Right?
Yeah.
So when I hire the right people, the idea is to have a common vision. And I explain it, it's no secret. I tell them, we are building an empire together. If you work really hard, you are part of something brilliant. Maxweb can be the next name you see on, I don't know, if you watch soccer, we're going to be the next sponsor for your Ronaldo or your favorite player. I try to explain to them it's this vision of an empire. And if we all work hard together, we can get there together. Also, profit share. I always take a chunk of money and everyone on the team gets a share of what we made that month. No matter if you're an engineer, if you're an accountant, if you're an affiliate manager, financial stability is important.
Yeah.
That's a huge motivator. So besides that is having them see that vision that we're building an empire together. It really works. I mean, people get so excited. It's almost like not just for me, but for many team members, they see Maxweb as their second baby. And they're so proud that we're doing well, that we can go to conferences, that we have people talk amazing things about us. So it's that vision that you want to inspire for them.
That's very cool. As a CEO, what's kind of your daily routine? How does a work day of yours look like?
Well, I probably shouldn't admit to this, and I should tell you it's all very awesome, and I'm the successful CEO that has it all figured out. But the way a normal day looks right now, I wake up, I always skip breakfast. I know it's terrible and not healthy. I try to do a bit of stretching so you open your mind and you feel better about yourself. I read. It's very important to me to have 30 minutes where I have a few newsletters that I really like, all focused on the industry. I want to know what's going on. I want to know if there are issues with Facebook or Outbrain or Google. So I always start the day with stretching. Then I read for 30 an hour. And then I go to the office, I open the computer, and I start prioritizing the emails. I like to have an inbox 0 by noon. Mm-hmm. That's important to me. Also, the team knows not to give my email out unless it's very important, because it's important to have the clear inbox 0 by noon. And then I try not to have more than 4 calls every day, and they have to be at 30 minutes. That was very hard to do, very hard. I can do it now because my team is amazing. 5 years ago, I had to have many calls, but I do calls for just 2 hours, 30 minutes each. And then Monday.com has been a really, really amazing tool for us as a company. The team has a section where they get to ask me questions. So instead of scheduling a lot of one-on-ones with the leaders and the managers, they have a board, and the board is up for me all the time. And I just, in real time, I answer their questions. And because it's a board, if let's say I would have them on a call, they would ask me 10 more things because they have me there. and my presence will be like, oh my gosh, I should take advantage
Yeah.
and get this from Anna. So have a board where everyone comes and asks you the questions, and I do that for another 2 hours. Then I try to spend time with my family for at least an hour in the evening, which is not a lot, but that's all the time I get with for my family in a day, probably an hour or two. And then I go back to the emails and the board and reading and stretching again before bed. However, this sounds crazy and exhausting, and it's very hard to do this. On Sunday, I don't do any of the work stuff. Even as the CEO, on Sunday, I don't go into the office. I rarely look at the phone because most of even the terrible mistakes, 24 hours later, you can still fix them. So that's my way out. That's my cheat day where I just really do anything my son wants. He got into ski this season, so we went skiing every Sunday. But during the week is 90% work, reading, and stretching.
Okay. I see. That's very interesting. And how, like, regarding your work and like when you do you do like more managerial tasks? Do you do like, do you manage people? Do you work on your product, or do you modify the business? What is it that you actually focus on?
I write a lot of processes. I write a lot of processes, and I write them well, because if you write a process well, most people are going to know how to do it, and you're going to make their life easier.
Yeah.
So I write a lot of processes every day, even for something as easy as how are we going to interview new affiliates? I could probably have a call with the person in charge of the affiliates, but if I have a process written out that's very good, it works wonders. And most people learn by reading. I know we're not taught this in school, and we keep having conversations with people, and we keep having a million calls thinking it's going to be productive. But I spend half of my day writing processes. And that's what helped me and Maxweb grow to the level where we are, because if you write one amazing process once, that's going to take 5 hours every week of having to explain the same thing over and over again. And mid-level managers are not very good at writing processes.
Yeah.
So spend that time on writing good processes for your team, and it's going to make your life easier. And then I spend a lot of time on the image, on the website. I spend a lot of time talking to the designers and the marketing team, telling them how I think we can improve things. So I guess it's working on the business rather than in the business. But that's something that I can do for the last year. So the first 3 years, it was a lot of inside work, the one-on-ones with the team, for them to get to the level where they are CEOs in themselves. You know what I mean? Like, you have to have at least 10 people that are amazing leaders to be able to work on the business the way I do.
Amazing. Thank you. That's
telling
awesome.
you guys all the secrets, so now you can go and have your own successful network.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, ideas are easy and implementation is hard. And
that's why I'm not worried. Like, I never see anyone in this competition, because I doubt most people can work as hard as I do. So I'm,
You're amazing. I like that. When you recruit people, how do you find these qualities that they actually follow processes? Because there's one thing writing down processes. There's just a very few people who can actually follow processes, and they have to follow it, not just follow it, but it has to make sense to them as well. So that if the process is outdated or wrong, then I want them to talk about it. Like, how do you spot that trait in people when you interview people?
It's terribly hard. So hard. A lot of mistakes, a lot of wrong hires to get to the point where you see the red flags from the first interview and you know not who to hire. Again, I could tell you it's a special instinct and I always feel the right people. I don't. I make mistakes too. But as time goes and you hire more people, you make less and less mistakes. So it's close to impossible to know from day one if that person is going to be as brilliant as we think they are. However, there are a few things that we can look for. So you want to look for people that have, I call it hustle, because, the Pennsylvanian in me, Eastern, it's the hustle that they want to work really hard and they want to grow and have financial stability for them and their family. But they're also really present it's someone that's going to ask you a question and not just wait for you to ask questions. So when people ask me questions during the interviews, it's a brilliant, like good, like green flag, the way I call it, because they're going to be the type of people that are going to be problem solvers down the road, right? So they also ask me questions like, how can I help you? So usually a new hire is going to make your life easier by day 7. If you're still trying to help them by day 7 and they're not making your life easier, it's probably not a good fit. So I interview a lot. To answer your question, I interview a lot. I interview every week when I'm not traveling, almost every day. Every 3 months, you'll find someone that's actually good and brilliant. So it's really no secret sauce. It's just don't look at the resume, don't look at their history. Try to find that connection that they are smart and brilliant and they really want to succeed. I think that's that's only out. I wish it was simpler and easier because I would have more employees if it was easy.
Okay. Thank you. You have affiliate managers, right? So what do you look for in an affiliate manager? What makes a good affiliate manager for you?
Affiliate managers should be the type of people that like to do boring things for a long period of time. I don't like to call people competitors because, again, we can get along with everyone, but a lot of competing businesses, they look for affiliate managers that are going to be bubbly and outgoing and super friendly. And that's honestly not always the most important. They want to be nice and kind and always be very polite, but they have to be the type of people that don't get bored because an affiliate manager has to spend at least 8 hours on the computer.
Yeah.
So they need to know how they want to be comfortable grabbing affiliate links, creatives, chatting with affiliates, and not get bored. And people that are usually extroverted and nice and kind, the type of affiliate manager that you see at a conference and you love them are probably going to be terrible for the rest of the year. Not always, obviously, they're always rock stars. But look for people that like to do boring stuff and they're not going to be exhausted by being in front of the computer for 8 hours.
That's interesting because, like, for me, I train myself to like boring stuff. Like, I would deliberately sit down and I'm like, okay, let me pick them about a generally interesting topic or a topic that helps me with business, etc. But I would like to, I like to pick the most boring book, like no graphics inside, just like long texts. And even though I find it boring, I admit,
amazing.
I train to be like the most boring person, and I train to like limit my impressions of things and my stimuluses. I try to be non-stimulating and have the least amount of stimulation just to work on it. Because
I love that. That's why you're so successful. Now you see everything makes sense. Why Digistore is such a fantastic company because of stuff like that. You need to be able to do boring stuff. You can't just have the flashy, awesome pieces of life that you hear from other entrepreneurs. The people that are comfortable doing boring things for long periods of time, those are the rock stars. Account managers are really the ones that bring all the business with affiliates. They need to be okay with being bored for a few hours because that's how that's part of the job. Conferences are 4 times a year, maybe 6, but the rest of the time you have to be home doing boring things, and you have to like that and be okay with that because you can't have financial stability and dance on the beach with cool people every single day.
Yes,
you can, but it's harder.
Yeah, because what this really comes down to is your dopamine management. If you get stimulated, if you need too much stimulation, it's almost like a drug. It's addictive. Then you need even more and more stimulation, and you get flooded with dopamine, and then you get resistant to it. So you need even more and more. So it's kind of like a death spiral. And the only way to break it is like to intentionally do boring stuff. Amazing. And intentionally expose yourself to boredom for hours and hours and hours.
I love that so much. And I have a newfound respect for you because not enough people do that or understand it. And everyone feels like they need to chase that good moment, that amazing meal, that amazing TV show, that great music, that great opera piece. And if you keep doing that, especially with us, because we can afford to do all those things, where does it end? You're going to be depressed by month 5 if you don't train yourself to do normal things. I think there's so much beauty in the normal things and being able to do just normal things every day. And how you said it, you need to train yourself to also do boring stuff. Otherwise, it's going to be impossible to be successful in the long run. That's fantastic. Yes. You should write a book just about that topic. I'm serious. So many people are going to read it. I love that. Train yourself to do boring things. That's going to be the title.
I was like, I really thought about it because I also sensed it within me that I needed more and more, stimulating stuff. And I noticed that I would get bored more easily. I would get less excited. And I would really, it took me a few years to figure out what's wrong with me, because I used to be so interested, when I was a few years ago and when I was in university, etc., because then at university as a dentist, you're just forced to do stuff. You have no time if you want to survive it, you have no time for interesting stuff. You just have to work on patients or on plastic heads or and model T-tooth and stuff. And then you have to learn, and it's just boring and you can do nothing else. That's, what? This is sometimes people ask me oh, don't you regret it? That you wasted so much time? Because I got a degree in that. So I finished these studies, and even though I knew as a student already, oh, this is probably not going to be my thing, You
stick to it.
Yeah, I stick to it to complete something, because I didn't want to be I didn't want that life story of mine being okay, I'm a dropout. And even though I didn't really like it, I just like a zombie, I walked through it and I was okay, whatever.
Same. That's fantastic. And imagine how many amazing skills that taught you and helped you to have the patience to do all those boring things. It's probably it makes sense why Digistore is such a successful company. It makes all the sense in the world. And that's why you are still relevant. And I'm not just saying this because you're here in person, but I can bet anything that you guys are going to be around for many years to come. And we see flashness so much, You, of course, you can give me the example of Elon Musk or Bezos, but those are the type of people that do the same thing. They do a lot of boring things. They're in the office, sleeping on the office floor for hours in a day. What you see on TV and what's cool for the life of a successful entrepreneur, it's really not the reality. I mean, you've seen the latest Netflix movie. I can tell you half of the people that tell you they're very successful in our industry, they're probably not. And I shouldn't say that, but a lot of people just like to talk about success and they like to pretend they know what it means to be there. But people that actually are successful, like you and I, we're going to be nodding when we hear stuff like this because we know that's the fact, that's the truth. I deal with a lot of successful people. I am blessed to have met many super affiliates, product owners that actually make real profits in our industry. And it doesn't sound flashy or sexy, but being boring is one of the huge, big traits that I've noticed actually stick and work. Think about anything in our industry, especially in the tech world. Think about the time that you have to be in front of the computer to set up the campaigns correctly. And sure, you will get at the point in your life where after you work really hard for 5 years, you'll be able to just set up a campaign and go have fun with your family at the beach for a week. But until you get there, it's the boring people that actually have a lot of money in their bank accounts. It's just how it works. And people that tell you otherwise, it's not the truth. Same with entrepreneurs.
Yeah, thank you. Talking about the most successful people, what traits do they have despite being boring?
Modesty, because think about it like this. This is a huge life belief of mine, and I'll write a book on this. Sometimes we win. We're going to be amazing at many things, and we're going to have a lot of wins, open a lot of businesses that are successful. But other times, stuff is not going to go the way we want it, right? And those are the opportunities when you don't lose, you learn something. You can learn as a good business person, you can learn from everything that's going to happen to you in a negative way. But in order to be able to learn, sometimes you win, sometimes you learn. But to be able to learn, you need to have an open mind. And to have an open mind, you need to be modest. To not think of yourself as the king of the world, the king of the jungle. I know there are many business sites out there that tells you have to be ruthless and cool to lead the world. Sure, you have to be strong. You need to have a strong personality, but you need to be open-minded to be able to learn. So the trait of the people that make a lot of money, they're the people in the corner that are kind, modest, because when you're modest, you are open-minded and you can learn. And, at the other extreme, you see the people that love to buy flashy things, and that's okay too. No judgment. But people that actually have financial stability rarely feel the need to have a brand on their shirt or car or shoes or watches.
Yeah, because in fact, I went through the whole process. I bought a lot of expensive stuff, brands, flashy cars, but I never showed them off really. Like I never publicized it. But like just for myself as an experience, I live in like countries that I don't originally come from, so I don't know a lot of people there. So it was never. It
was for yourself. You wanted to see this is the next level. This is what I want to get.
Yeah, this is like I'm supposed to do that but whatnot. But the thing is that wears off really fast and it becomes irrelevant. And in the end of the day, I was like looking for like
the next thing.
The next thing and just the most like comfortable thing in a sense, like a car, like for example, if you have a Lamborghini sports car, then it's not comfortable. I mean, it looks great, but it's not comfortable. So if you want to get like for everyday life, you would like to just get a regular car and not drive that one. Better get an Audi or something, or Mercedes, a small Mercedes, because then you can drive comfortably anywhere and it's okay. And
100%. You said something that is so true, and it wears off quickly. That's what happens. And all of us were there at one point.
Yeah.
When you started having financial stability, you can afford the things that we couldn't afford in college or in high school. So we start buying stuff and we all do it. But soon, very quickly, you realize that it doesn't bring you the fulfillment that you thought it will. And it wears off quickly. So you go back to the roots. You go back to wanting plain stuff. When I built my house, the latest house, it's 1 story, 4 rooms. Like you go back to the basics. When you're very successful, everyone goes back to the basics, to simple, to modest, to calm. And I think that's everywhere. Everyone else that's successful in the industry, they'll get to this realization.
Yes. Because it's also these things that you own. Let's say, imagine you own 10 cars or 20 cars. That's really nice. But then you have to manage all that because every car needs to be driven at least once a week to still be functional. And if you're traveling a lot, then they're just standing around and maybe they won't work anymore. Or if you have if your closet is full of like flashy, shiny, expensive clothes, then you will want to keep everything, of course, because it was expensive.
And you can wash them. You need to take them to a special place every week. So it's maintenance for absolutely everything.
Yeah.
You're right.
So I got rid of a lot of stuff. I mean, I'm not
awesome.
I'm not like a perfect minimalist, but I really embrace minimalism. I call it essentialism. So I only to keep
That's
only
beautiful. I love
only
that.
the things that are essential, because I noticed like all these little decisions and managing stuff, it makes me unhappy actually, and it drains my energy. And I'm supposed to have a lot of energy. I'm supposed to be functional for the business even more so than ever before, and not the other way around. So it's like a trap. Like, you become successful, then you buy all that stuff. This drags you down and robs your energy, but somehow your ego is attached to that. It's very crazy.
And also something very pragmatic. It's very hard to save money. A lot of the people watching and listening are people probably getting started, right?
Yeah.
Not everyone had 10, 20 years like us to be able to grow a business. It's going to be very hard to save money if as soon as you make money, you change your lifestyle. So it's going to be very hard to have 100K in your savings account if as soon as you make your first 10K, you go and shop for name brands.
Yeah.
And people forget to tell you that. I mean, you change your way of life, you start buying super expensive stuff, you're not going to be able to save. You're not going to be able to put it back in the business. It makes no common sense to buy all that stuff. We all go through it. I bought a lot of stuff that I shouldn't have. We all do it at one point. But what we're trying to say, you always go back to the basic, the more successful you are, because you just get it. It's like an alignment mode where you realize you don't need it.
Thank you so much. That was amazing. Can you, coming to an end, can you give your best 3 tips on how someone can become successful that's getting started, for example?
I would love to. So I can only tell you what works for me. Many of you guys listening probably won't agree with everything that I said, and that's 100% okay because we have our different journeys. But to be successful, you want to work very, very hard. There's no cutting corners. I know we live in a world where it's so easy and you want that easy fix where you lose weight overnight or everything is fixed overnight. But I'm telling you, just work hard, at least for the first 5 years until you get to a healthy point. Second one, mindset. Work on your mindset. It's not just something that you hear from books that it sounds cool. Working on your mindset is just as important as working on your business. And 3, try to apply common sense to every decision that you make. Don't listen to someone just because they pretend to be successful. Usually, if you apply common sense, even to a business decision, 9 times out of 10 is the right idea. Common sense to most of the things that you do in life.
Anna, thank you so much for all that. I had a great time with you and looking forward to next time. Thank you.
I was honored to be here. I am honored to be here, and you're wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed this episode, hit the subscribe button and never miss an episode of Svencast again.